The British destroyer HMS Sheffield was sent to help in retaking the Falklands from the Argentines in 1982, but during its mission, it was exposed to more than submarine attacks. The sinking of the Argentinian General Belgrano on May 2nd took the lives of 323 Argentinian men, and the South Americans were enraged. 2 Super Étendard aircraft then took off from southern Argentina and launched 2 missiles aimed at HMS Sheffield. Lieutenant Steve Iacovou, on board the ship, later described in an interview, quote, "It really does amaze me now, when I come to think of it, that we watched it almost to the point of impact, when we quickly huddled together and dropped to the floor." Falklands War. Argentinian military director General Leopoldo Galtieri sought to strengthen his regime's withering popularity, appealing to patriotism. It was also vital to divert the attention away from Argentina's critical economic crisis. A centuries-old disagreement over the Falkland Islands with Great Britain was then resurrected to stir the people's spirits. The Falkland Islands are a mere 480 kilometers away from the South American coast and 12,000 kilometers from the British mainland. On April 2nd, 1982, Argentine forces invaded the British-ruled territory. The small and unprepared English forces, consisting of 80 Royal Marines, were severely outnumbered and swiftly surrendered. Argentina was quick to claim the islands, assuming that the British would not care to retaliate. But they were wrong. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, known as the Iron Lady, would not let the invasion go unnoticed and leave the islands at the mercy of their opponents. She then put together a task force of 6,000 troops and 30 warships and ordered the immediate retrieval of the stolen lands. The British strategy. HMS Sheffield was a British Type 42 guided missile destroyer. It was part of Task Force 317, which was sent to retrieve the Falkland Islands during the 10-week confrontation with Argentina. The vessel was launched by Queen Elizabeth II in 1971. It had significant design issues involving its radar and lacked an electronic countermeasures jammer. In January 1982, Captain James Salt took command of the ship, although his recent experience had been onboard submarines. Meanwhile, his second-in-command had been an anti-submarine helicopter observer. They had no relevant experience in surface ships or air defense. As a response to the Argentinian invasion in its southern hemisphere territories, the British sent HMS Sheffield to retake the islands on April 2nd, 1982. The ship was marked with a black vertical line on its side, from the funnel to the waterline, to avoid being mistaken for the Argentine Hercules or Santissima Trinidad. HMS Sheffield departed on the 10th and arrived on Ascension Island on the 14th, where it joined Task Force 317. An exclusion zone was established around the islands, and any Argentine vessel passing through would be downed. The total exclusion zone operation around the Falklands then commenced on May 1st. British policy mandated Royal Navy vessels to immediately turn towards the threat and fire chaff if there was any suspicion of a missile attack. This protocol went under the code word handbrake. However, a submarine threat was regarded as more imminent than airstrikes. On May 2nd, the Royal Navy's HMS Conqueror submarine sank the Argentine cruiser General Belgrano with over 300 crew members. The incident happened outside the edge of the exclusion zone and became highly controversial. From that day on, the Argentinians kept their ships at anchor and resorted to their Navy aircraft to perform airstrikes against the enemy. Their fleet was outdated, but the sheer number of aircraft posed a significant threat to the Royal Navy. Still, Captain Salt had HMS Sheffield change course every 90 seconds to divert potential underwater attacks. Undetected. The Argentine Naval Aviation Lockheed SP-2H Neptune patrol aircraft first detected HMS Sheffield at 7:50 a.m. on May 4th. Its position was subsequently verified at 8:14 and 8:43. Two Super Étendards armed with AM-38 Exocet missiles took off from Rio Grande Naval Air Base at 9:45 a.m. and met the Argentine Air Force Hercules tanker to refuel 15 minutes later. The Super Étendards were piloted by Commander Augusto Beda Caratz and Lieutenant Armando Mayora. For 2 weeks, the Argentines had practiced attack maneuvers against their own Type 42 destroyers like Sheffield. They were aware of the specifics of the radar horizon, detection distances, and reaction times, and optimized the Exocet missiles for a successful launch. The pilots also employed what is known colloquially as pecking the lobes, a technique that probes the side lobes of an emitting radar and avoids being detected by the main lobe. By 10:35 a.m., a low-flying Neptune had located one large and two medium-sized targets and updated their positions accordingly. Once verified, the coordinates were loaded, and the missiles launched at 11:04 a.m. from a distance of around 20 or 30 miles. Meanwhile, Sheffield's crew performed defense watches, but had been having trouble distinguishing Mirage and Super Étendard aircraft due to proper radar jamming. Moreover, intelligence briefings identifying potential Exocet attacks were dismissed as false alarms. A supporting ship, HMS Glasgow, had detected aircraft at only 40 nautical miles. Glasgow's officials ordered the crew to take action stations and communicated the handbrake codeword operation. But Sheffield did not receive the warning. It wasn't until lookouts aboard Sheffield made out smoke in the distance that they realized they were under attack. Surprisingly, Sheffield did not take any countermeasures. There weren't any orders to fire chaff, take action stations, or perform any evasive maneuver. The captain was resting in his cabin at the time, and the anti-air warfare officer was chatting with the stewards. Of the two Exocets fired by the Argentine aircraft, one hit Sheffield on the starboard at deck level 2, breaching the forward auxiliary machinery room and forward engine room. The firefighting response system was heavily damaged, and the ship was consumed by flames. Another accompanying ship, HMS Coventry, was exchanging communications with Sheffield at the moment of the attack. An unidentified message suddenly came through, quote, "Sheffield is hit." Aftermath. Escorts Arrow and Yarmouth were dispatched to aid the destroyer. They tried to fight the fire, but it was of little use. The crew on board Sheffield struggled to save the ship for almost 4 hours until the captain ordered everyone to abandon it. There was a possibility that the fires would ignite the ammunition and expose the supporting vessels to air attacks. Everyone on board was evacuated, either on the escorts or helicopters. 20 men lost their lives, and only one body was recovered and buried on English soil. The vessel was towed to South Georgia, but the high waters filled the ship through the starboard hull. It eventually sank on the 6th day, just on the edge of the total exclusion zone. In 2017, a complete report of the event was published. New information revealed multiple issues that rendered the ship utterly unprepared for such an attack. Furthermore, 2 officers were found negligent, but according to The Guardian, quote, escaped courts-martial and did not face disciplinary action, apparently in order to avoid undermining the euphoria that gripped much of the UK at the end of the war. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to our Dark Documentaries channels, and let us know in the comments below if you would like us to cover any specific historical topic.